Right, YouTube, it's Shadow King Nazu, and I'm here to give my review of Mortal Kombat 2021. So, yeah, we got a reboot of the Mortal Kombat movie. Last movie we had was Annihilation, and the less we talk about Annihilation, the better. So, um, this Mortal Kombat movie kind of isn't what you expect it to be. On the one hand, I'm glad that the writers are fans of the material. You can definitely tell it by the references. They definitely know the story. But you can see all this stuff that they reference to the great Kung Lao being being Mortal Kombat champion after defeating the original champion Shang Tsung. Uh, the references to the other realms, such as Nether Realm, Outworld, other things, the Elder Gods. We even got a reference towards the Aztec, specifically Kotal Khan. So this might be taking inspiration from the modern Mortal Kombat games as opposed to the classic pre-reboot Mortal Kombat games. Let's just hope we can. Let's just hope they don't screw up like Mortal Kombat 11. Oh god. But on the other hand, it's taking some liberties that I felt were somewhat interesting, and other cases I found to be questionable. Uh, the first thing that it is that instead of being an adaptation of the first Mortal Kombat game, where it was basically a tournament to win the actual 10th tournament, so Outworld isn't allowed to invade Earthrealm, much like how the first movie was. Um, it's actually a movie about Outworld trying to prevent Earthrealm from getting champions to fight in the next Mortal Kombat tournament. So it's technically Mortal Kombat without Mortal Kombat. Huh. Okay. I mean, on the one hand, it's not out of character for Shang Tsung to cheat. He is known for being a deceptive snake bastard. On the other hand, it's just kind of somewhat disappointing that we don't really get to see the tournament and all that, as it would create some bit of structure towards towards these fights, and I really think that the Elder Gods should have actually done more to intervene, so Earthrealm wouldn't be attacked by Outworld. I mean, sure they had Raiden, but he didn't really do all that much. All he created was like a barrier. He didn't really. I know it's a joke that the Elder Gods don't really do anything unless it directly threatens them, or Raiden can be kind of a useless thunder god. But come on, he should. They're clearly breaking the rules. Raiden should definitely be doing more than just creating barriers of lightning. He should be attacking Shang Tsung and all the other fighters he brought along with him. But anyway, that. But it's it's. I'm kind of two minds on this movie. But that's one. That change. I have some issues with it, but I can understand it. I could tolerate it. I feel like it would be something that Shang Tsung would attempt to do. And I mean, another things that were that the story is focused on this guy named Cole Young, who's apparently well, I mean, spoiler alert. Yeah, this is gonna be a spoiler review. I'll probably put that in the title. Cole Young is apparently the descendant of Hanzo Hasashi, better known as Scorpion, and the last remaining member of the Shiraryu. If you're familiar at all with the Mortal Kombat games, you'll know that the Shiraryu were decimated by Lin Kuei or by Quan Chi, depending on certain versions of the games in the others Mortal Kombat influenced media. But yeah, he's apparently the last of the Shiryu and is a direct descendant of Hanzo Hasashi. And yeah, he's an original character. Now, one of my biggest fears was that he was going to end up being like this Gary Stu character, much like how Alice was in those fake Resident Evil movies. No, let's not call them Resident Evil movies. Let's call them the Resident Alice movies, where it was all about her and she was overpowered. And they basically made her a god. And you just undervalued all the actual characters from the games, and they didn't get the characters right. And they were basically them in name only. On that note, I can say that I'm glad that he's not a Gary Stu. He does have flaws, and he does lose fights. In fact, he was losing fights for like the first half of the film. You gotta be wondering like how the hell is this guy gonna do well in Mortal Kombat? This guy will. I mean, he was so bad. He didn't even defeat his first opponent that he got in. Got in with it. You feel like this was some guy you were building up for cannon fire, but later on he gets somewhat better, and that's mostly because of he has the superpower, which we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, he definitely has flaws, and his presence doesn't undermine the other Mortal Kombat characters, at least not most of them. There's one character it undermines, and that character specifically is dear to me because he's my favorite character, and what they did really rubs me off the wrong way. But I will talk about that later. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him. He's not a Gary Stu. My problem is that he shouldn't be our point of view character. We didn't need an OC character. We had Johnny Cage as the average guy who's not in the loop, and we could get the information from him about what's Mortal Kombat, who are these characters, why do they have these powers, and so on and so forth. Because he's just a Hollywood actor. He's not like Liu Kang, who's a Shaolin monk who's been training all his life and would be well versed in the lore. He's not like Jax Briggs or Sonya Blade, who are special forces. We get this information. He's not like Shang Tsung or Melina, or so on and so forth, who come from Outworld, even though technically Shang Tsung is originally from Earthrealm. So they would also be in the know as they're the invaders and whatnot. He's just a really skilled fighter and an actor. So we could easily relate to him. He could be our point of view character. Now, apparently the reason why the writers didn't have Johnny Cage is because they wanted to have something to build up to in the sequel or something, which I think was kind of a dumb idea, because you have plenty of stuff to build up to in the sequels. I mean, you've referenced Shao Kahn. You even had a Shinnok's amulet, so you're definitely trying to make a franchise out of this. But anyway, I'm just. I mean, aside from undermining my favorite character, Liu Kang, Cole was fine. His acting though, I don't know the name of the actor, but he's not that good of an actor. He's really not. A lot of his deliveries were delivered very flat, not given the right emotion, and sometimes he can seem a little bit. I don't want to say blank, but just something feels a little bit off in his facial expressions sometimes. But yeah, he's not that good. And apparently he was supposed to be, he auditioned for Shang-Chi, but he clearly didn't get the part. I can see why. Even though I'm not excited to see the Shang-Chi movie, I could definitely see why he wouldn't get casted. If he did, I would say that was a bad move on Marvel's part. As for like the other characters being handled, I felt they were handled for the most part are pretty well. Uh, though there were some changes. Kano's originally starting to work with Earthrealm, and he was captured by Sonya Blade. They didn't really go into why Sonya Blade hates Kano so much, because in the games it's because Kano killed her partner. I don't believe that was mentioned in the movie. I didn't have the subtitles on when I was watching it with my family. So if it was mentioned, and you guys could make that known to me in the comments, and I'll apologize for it. But I don't believe it was mentioned that about the partner being killed, and that's why she hates Kano so much. But other than that, she seems fine. In terms of personality of how Sonya Blade would work, she's very professional, takes no nonsense, special forces military soldier. Jax is also the veteran special force operative that he's loyal to Sonya. You definitely sense the friendship between the two of them, and he's willing to give his all to fight for those he cares about. And we also got the dilemma of him having metal arms, and how he kind of feels that made him less of a man, which is how some versions of the stories try to take it in that direction, which was pretty nice that they still kept that about. Liu Kang, my favorite character. I mean, for what it was, I mean, he wasn't the main focus, which, I mean, that's kind of a problem with me, because, well, he's the Mortal Kombat champion. I mean, he's supposed to be the Mortal Kombat champion according to the first game, and so on and onward. But this version of the Kang, I'm not seeing how he can become Mortal Kombat champion. That's part of my problem with. That was one of my many problems with Mortal Kombat Scorpion Legends, or whatever it was called. Oh yeah, spoiler alerts. I don't like that movie. I really don't. because there was because despite being like a pretty good fighter, I mean he was able to defeat Kano, but then again Kano's not really a well trained fighter. When he starts fighting Cabal, he struggles greatly. I mean, granted, Cabal has super speed and he has the hooked swords, but you figure the Mortal Kombat champion would there would be more back and forth between them. It's not until like the second fight that they have that he starts doing better. But I definitely should have seen him do better if I'm going to be convinced that he's going to be ultimately be the Mortal Kombat champion, because I need to see that potential. Otherwise, I'm going to be asking myself, how is he going to be Goro and Shang Tsung? Which is going to be pretty. Which probably might not be all that difficult because apparently they killed Goro by when he fought Ko Young and his family. So yes, the OC character is the one that defeats Goro, the current champion of Outworld and the winner of 9 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments. I mean, I really am annoyed that every adaptation outside the games doesn't allow Liu Kang to be the one to defeat Goro. I mean, the problem with that is that, once again, that was supposed to solidify that, yes, he definitely has what it takes to be the Mortal Kombat champion. He can beat Goro, he can beat Shang Tsung, he can defeat Shao Kahn, and he can possibly defeat Shinnok. I mean, I, I mean, people like the people who did uh, Scorpion's Legend or whatever that movie was called. They did it to be subversive because they didn't want it to be like a formulaic movie for the fans. Okay, yeah, because that worked so well with The Last Jedi. But I mean, people just realize that different isn't always better. You When you do something different, you have to also take into account what are the consequences of making those changes. And that was one thing you should not mess with. It has to be Liu Kang who defeats Goro. I mean, if you wanted to have Cole fight and prove that he could be a serious contender, you could. I mean, I would have had Cole maybe fight I would have had Cole fight Cabal and Liu Kang fight Goro, and I mean that would explain why he'd be struggling a little bit. But then Liu Kang starts to get better into the fight, but they don't declare a clear victor, so they can say that for the actual tournament, and that's when Liu Kang would get his full-fledged victory. That's how I feel it should have been done. But they do keep the fact that he's very spiritualistic. He's a very dedicated person to the cause of protecting Earthrealm. They also did touch on that that he has this kinship with Kung Lao. I'm getting kind of like mixed signals on whether or not they still kept that both he and Kung Lao are the descendants of the great Kung Lao, because the games and other media kind of toss up on whether or not they're related. I think they said that Liu Kang was found in an orphanage or something, but he's like considered his Kung Lao brother, but I think they also kind of did touch that they were cousins, so maybe he is a descendant of the Great Kung Lao, but he's like a very distant relative. I probably might have to watch the movie again to like get these things straight, but I just wanted to get these things out when I still had most of the things fresh. So we should probably talk about Kung Lao. Kung Lao, I do think, was handled rather well. They kept the arrogance of him, and he's definitely proud of his heritage. He wants to honor the legacy of the Great Kung Lao. But I feel like the only missed opportunity was, I feel like there should have been more animosity between him and Shang Tsung, because Shang Tsung was defeated by the Great Kung Lao, and that's how he became Mortal Kombat champion. And he should also have had a fight with Goro. That's also the missed opportunity. That's another reason why they should have had Liu Kang and Kung Lao fight Goro. It would have built. I mean, this is an old enemy of their ancestor. Goro would have been interested in fighting his descendants. It would have also maybe build up a bit of a rivalry between Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and who's going to avenge the Great Kung Lao. And it's just such a wasted opportunity. I know the running gag is that nobody ever truly dies in Mortal Kombat because they all get resurrected sooner or later. But, it definitely just seems like wasted potential. Another problem I have, this is not so much with Kung Lao, it's going back to Liu Kang, is that we get to see Liu Kang kill people. I believe it was Cabal he killed. My problem with that is that Liu Kang is the Paragon Shaolin monk, the very ideal example of it. And Shaolin monks don't really kill. They try to preserve life as much as possible. So, that's probably the problem with with casual Mortal Kombat fans with Liu Kang, that he doesn't kill. But they don't realize that it's because he's a Shaolin monk and he values life. It's like trying to ask why doesn't Batman kill? Except with the few exceptions that he actually does kill. But okay, bad example, but you get the idea. That Liu Kang, it actually helps Liu Kang stand out from all the other fighters, as the other fighters are doing all these gory fatalities and brutalities. Liu Kang is the one that's actually showing restraint and mercy, and that's something you could also build up on if they ever decide to kill Liu Kang and have him be resurrected as a revenant or whatever, then that could be a Liu Kang who doesn't hold back and will be extremely dangerous because he's actually willing to kill this time. That would have been made more impactful, and since you're reaching out to a lot wider audience, they will have a better understanding of Liu Kang's character. So, yeah, I think that was another misstep. I don't have a problem with Kung Lao killing personally, because he's always seemed more like the maverick Shaolin monk. But yeah, his character was handled well, and yes, we do get to see him use his bladed hat. Even using it like a buzzsaw to cut Nintara in half, and my God, was the gore with these fatalities and brutalities is excellent. If nothing else, if you just want to see that kind of violence, you will get that good stuff. Kano is actually done. I think he's one of the best handled versions of these characters. He's vulgar, confrontational, greedy, willing to betray anyone to get what he wants. Definitely classic Kano. They definitely understood his character. But I think this is like the thing that I should talk about that's the big change, because Kano's a perfect example. In the games, Kano has that laser eye because he lost his right eye. I believe that's his right eye, and he had to get it replaced with cybernetics. Here, he gets the laser eyes, but it's not because of cybernetics. It's because of this thing called Akana or Hakana, something like that. And it's basically your hidden power for those chosen to fight in Mortal Kombat. It's basically just tried to do a simplified version of why a lot of the Mortal Kombat fighters have powers. Like Liu Kang can shoot fireballs, Sonya Blade can shoot energy blasts. Jax has the metal arms, even though that's not really that hard to explain. It's just technology. Same with Sonya Blades. I mean, Sonya Blade would be advanced technology, but still. Sub-Zero is a cryomancer. Scorpion can manipulate hellfire and whatnot. I mean, just some of those things weren't necessary. You could just explain that some of those products were just technology based. But I guess I gotta give some leeway for simplifying for the audience. As for like characters such as Melina, Goro, and General Raiko, they were more or less there. They didn't really delve that deep into them. They do reference that Prince Goro, it was the current champion, but again, that's still been like the big guns you saved. And you shouldn't have him be defeated in this film until he fights Liu Kang. Melina, she's basically a glorified henchwoman. They don't go into her relationship with her original counterpart / sister Kitana, because Melina is a clone of Kitana created by Shang Tsung using her DNA and the DNA of Atar Cotton. They didn't really delve into that. Maybe they'll delve into that into the sequel when they bring her back. I mean, they made no reference to her being a clone. They didn't make any reference towards her being Kitana's sister. I mean, she's just kind of there. There's not really all that much to her. I mean, I'm glad that they at least showed the Tarkatan side, which is more than what Mortal Kombat Annihilation did, which she just pops out of nowhere. Just Sonya Blade confuses her for Kitana, and there's not much fanfare to her. But I definitely think that she could have done more with her. I mean, but if you didn't have much planned for her, then maybe you should have swapped Melina in with Kitana and just done what you need with her. Reference that she's a princess, and that she wants to fight for Outworld to for the glory of Shao Kahn, who she still thinks is her father at this point, because she doesn't know that King Jared of Vidinia was her actual father. So you could have her in this actual movie instead of Melina, and that could have been the building blocks for her relationship with Liu Kang and build up to their actual romantic feelings. So yeah, I think that should have been done, and we saved Melina for the sequel. Maybe even did what the reboot games did, and realized that that Katana failed to defeat Liu Kang. They need someone better, so they tried to clone her and create Melina. So that. So I feel that should have been done with the character. General Raiko, I mean, he's also just a glorified henchman. Then again, I was never all that big of a fan of Raiko, so I mean, my personal opinion, I guess I can give that a pass. I mean, if you guys are Raiko fans, I'm sorry. No, honestly, I don't even think he gets a line in there. But Cabal, I mean his role was kind of small, but I think they did just about enough that we get his character. He's still part of the Black Dragons. They did mention that that he was severely burnt and he has to rely on equipment and the mask to survive. They reference that he's part of the Black Dragon, that he was betrayed by Kano, and they definitely do have some history towards each other, but he's also willing to do whatever it takes to get some money, even if it means joining the enemy side. So this doesn't seem like the Cabal that's going to get redeemed at this point. Maybe they'll try to go with a more redeemable Cabal later. But right now he's still the part of the bad guys, so I think that was handled fine. I mean, they definitely did more than what they did with the other villain. As for Shang Tsung is definitely, I thought what they did pretty good. He's definitely has that sense of regal presence. But you can definitely tell that he's very deceptive, especially since he's willing to break the rules of Mortal Kombat just to make sure they don't lose a 10th time. They just wanted to kill the fighters, and this Earth realm will have to lose by default. And they definitely touch upon his magic. He's able to create portals. He's also uses the famous lines of "Your soul is mine," but he doesn't do it like Carrie Hotowaga. What was his? I can never say his last name, but you remember the original actor Shang Tsung from the first Mortal Kombat movie says, "Your soul is mine," or something a little hammier. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be as iconic as the original actor, but because he's just so over the top with it, but it's so entertaining. But I think he does it well enough that we can buy it. And for Sub-Zero, specifically the Elder Sub-Zero Bihan. Bihan, I believe, was handled mostly well. They still kept the rivalry between the Lin Kuei and the Shiryu. They don't go too deep into the history, but we do get a sense of enough that they're rival clans. They didn't explain like that the Shiryu are like a severed piece of the Lin Kuei. and became ninjas in Japan, which is taking all their techniques and strategies and tactics, which is why the Lin Kuei hate the Shiryu so much. They feel like they're a mockery of the Lin Kuei, which is also why Lin Kuei don't like to be called ninjas. But they did touch. I mean, they did go into the backstory. They did show that he's basically a mercenary. He seems a bit more villainous than he's usually in the games. I mean, because in the games they do kind of touch on that he did have some good in him, especially since he prevented the resurrection of Shinnok in Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero mythologies. So I wonder if they're ever going to show some of his more redeemable qualities, because that's what a lot of fans wanted for Bi-Han. They wanted him to get some sort of redemption arc, specifically by the aid of his younger brother, Kuai Liang. That would be something of a good story to go with. But all in all, I do think that he was handled well as a main antagonist, and I'm glad that it was Scorpion who ultimately gets the killing blow on Sub-Zero, as it should be. That's what happened in the game, and that leads to Sub-Zero becoming the shadowy ninja noob Saibot. See, was there anything? As for like the special effects, I mean, you've seen them in the trailer. The special effects for the ice was done pretty well, which is, I mean, that was done pretty well. But I think that's where most of the budget is, because there's some special effects that seem kind of spotty, like the special effects for Reptile. Oh my god! I just remember Reptile was in this movie, because he was just so much of a non-character. I mean, he was basically like just there for like a quick assassination kill, but they didn't really delve in much into his character or his history of being like the last of his race and fighting to have to have the Elder Gods restore his clan or whatnot. But so yeah, I kind of, but like I was trying to say, the effects for Reptile wasn't all that great. It wasn't the worst kind of CGI I've seen, but it could have been done better. I mean, it definitely wasn't on the level like Godzilla vs. Kong, where the CGI was incredible, despite like not having like an incredibly high budget. They did do some really good CGI there. But I mean, we still had some good CGI with like Sub-Zero's ice, fire for Scorpion and Liu Kang. Melina's teleportation abilities also had some good CGI, and so on and so forth. Goro was also CGI, and he looked good for the most part. But yeah. But all in all, I do think that they did handle Bi-Han well with like a few minor gripes. Scorpion was handled pretty well. They got most of his story pretty down packed. They also explained that he was in Netherrealm. That's where he got his powers from. And he definitely shows that he is vengeful towards Bi-Han. And I'm glad that we got to see some of his iconic moves, like turning his face into a skull and breathing out hellfire. And we also get the classic "get over here" You could definitely, like I said, you could definitely tell that that the writers and the filmmakers were fans of the games. They even played the iconic Mortal Kombat music from the movie, like you know, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that we get that, but it's just like a remixed version of it. So yeah, I'm definitely glad we got that. They didn't they didn't reference Quan Chi, which like a lot of the modern stuff with Mortal Kombat likes to reference that Quan Chi did have a hand in the creation of Scorpion. Uh, so maybe they're gonna like tease that for a sequel. But all in all, I think it was done pretty good. Now, as for like the whole Quan Chi thing being having a hand, uh, I mean, I don't think it's necessary to reveal that Quan Chi was partly responsible for Scorpion's death. Uh, and like I know some people aren't exactly like big fans of Quan Chi and how important the modern stuff with Mortal Kombat tries to make him as important as, but even to some extent try to make him more important than Shang Tsung. Uh, I feel like people like that Phantom Menacer for Snake, and I don't know, some other people might not be aren't exactly big fans of Quan Chi, but I mean I don't have a person with I don't have a problem with him overall. I mean I get that he's basically basically somewhat of a copy of Shang Tsung. They do have similar powers and they do have somewhat of a similar personality. And I do think they tried. I do kind of have a gripe with them trying to give some of the accomplishments Shang Tsung had in the original games, and they tried to transfer it over to Quan Chi. That was kind of annoying, but uh, if they want to save Quan Chi for the sequel, that's fine. Uh, just tone down the importance you think he has, because he's not that important. NetherRealm, Warner Brothers, and so on and so forth. Uh, so yeah, I would say that the story and the characters, I say it's kind of a mixed bag. There's things that they done really well, and then there's things that they didn't do all that well that's questionable. Uh, but the fight choreography, my God, the fight choreography is definitely well done. I mean, if you just want to turn your brain off, not delving too much into the lore, and just want to see some good action, I think you'll get your money's worth there. Um, they definitely got some people who know how to fight. They got definitely know people who know martial arts. Even reference the whole leg sweep trick, the leg sweep trick that a lot of Mortal Kombat fans like to use. So I definitely appreciated the in joke. But yeah, you could definitely see that there was a lot of back and forth. It just felt very fluid, very brutal, which is how it should feel with Mortal Kombat. I think that's pretty much everything I had to talk about. So all in all, if I had to give Mortal Kombat 2021 a rating, I would give it like either a 7 or a 7.5. It's not like it's not a perfect adaptation. There was definitely room for improvement. Things they could have should have done. But I would definitely say it's worth a watch, and I would say that maybe I would be interested in watching the sequel. You guys let me know. Did you watch Mortal Kombat? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll catch you mortals later.